It's past the hour 6. You're live here on GHOne TV. This is News Tonight. I'm Natalie Ford. Coming up this evening, trial of minority leader Dr. Ato Forson takes a new turn as the former Deputy Finance Minister petitions Chief Justice to allow for a live broadcast of proceedings in court to allow for justice to prevail. Also coming up, organised labour insists offloading of 60% SSNIT shares in 6 hotels to Rock City Hotel must be stopped as they demand for a restructuring of the trust board.
Stakeholders should come together, including the employers, including government, including SSNIT board, and all other stakeholders come together and decide the way forward.
Meanwhile, North Tong MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa wants a Greek minister, Brian Echampong, to apologize to Ghanaians for abusing his powers.
Back out, and he should apologize to the Ghanaian people for engaging in this, and just stay clear of this transaction, because under Article 78 and Article 98, he should have been nowhere near this transaction.
Also ahead tonight, we will tell you a story of how some national monuments have been left to rot away in a feature titled Unkept. And ahead in business, the Ghana Statistical Service says Ghana suffered a 33% decline in cocoa exports between 2021 and 2023. We'll tell you more. Those are our top stories this evening here on News Tonight on GHOne TV. As always, you can watch our bulletin on Facebook as well as on X at GHOne TV. Let's get started tonight as the minority leader in Parliament, Dr. Ato Forson, has through his lawyers petitioned the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Tokonu, requesting a live broadcast of proceedings in the ongoing ambulance trial. According to the former Deputy Finance Minister, the request is in the interest of transparency and accountability in order to advance the cause of justice for all parties in the trial. The last few days has seen the opposition NDC accuse the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, of attempting to coerce the third accused person, Richard Jakpa, to skew his testimony against the minority leader, who is the first accused in the case. Though the Office of the Attorney General has debunked the accusations, the opposition party, at a press conference earlier this week, released an audio recording purporting to implicate the minister, but has also been refuted by the governing MPP, who say the audio has been doctored. But in a post on his X account, Dr. Ato Forson said he has directed his lawyers to petition the Chief Justice to request for a live broadcast of the trial to ensure justice for all parties. Now, we're joined via phone by Edem Senanu to discuss this development further. He serves as the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, joining us for a conversation on this. Good evening to you, Mr. Senanu. Thank you for joining us this evening. Now, you hear and know of this development. The ambulance purchase trial of the minority leader, Dr. Ato Forson, has been in the news for quite some time now. Now, Dr. Forson is specifically asking for a live broadcast of this trial, since according to him, this will ensure that justice prevails. Do you share in this thought?
And to the extent that the judiciary think that it's a worthwhile endeavor, why not? I just, in my mind, one needs to be cautious. We don't set a precedent that would then require that every such politically inclined or assumably politically inclined case, people will be demanding for it to be televised. But I think it is a good thing if all of us have an opportunity to see how things transpire and the proceedings in court.
Very well. Now you're saying that you hope that it doesn't set that precedent. Do you think that it will really ensure that justice prevails and it would somewhat help the dynamics of this case?
I'm not quite. I don't think it's so much about the public viewing is what we're sure that justice will be done. As far as I'm concerned, the judicial system would apply the rules whether there was a public viewing or not. So I'm not quite sure whether that is the kind of interpretation we should give to this request.
Very well. Adamson and thank you for sharing your thoughts on this issue. Co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption joining us for a conversation there following that development. More on that subsequently, but in some other news this evening, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is working with the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation to push for the passage of a law to elevate the EPA to authority, which will grant it more powers to deal with emerging challenges. At the launch of the EPA's 50th anniversary, Executive Director Dr. John Kingsley Krugu emphasized the need for greater powers to effectively fulfill its crucial role in the environmental sustainability sector.
Since its inception in 1974 by the then military government, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has been instrumental in promoting environmental responsibility in Ghana. The agency was established in response to growing concerns about the dangers posed to the environment by irresponsible human activities. The EPA oversees the implementation of the National Environment Policy with a mission to manage, protect, and enhance Ghana's environment while seeking common solutions to global environmental problems. Half a century after its establishment, the agency asserts that it needs more powers to address growing environmental threats.
Because we are dealing with the environment, which is everything about us. And having gone through this journey of 50 years, the hour has come, the time has come. And I will call on Parliament to do what they are supposed to do to make sure that the bill becomes law, because we need to protect the environment. We don't have an alternative. We don't have an option. That is our very existential, and it is a threat to that existential if we don't protect the environment.
Dr. Krugu also highlighted the importance of responsible citizenship in protecting the environment.
Laws by itself will not do the trick. What is most important is a change of mindset, a change of attitude towards the environment. What is the environmental cost of cutting a single tree? What is the environmental cost of dropping a polythene bag on the floor? Because whether it's ambient or air or water pollution, it will affect our very existence.
The immediate past executive director of the EPA, Dr. Henry Kwabena Kokofu, supported new legislation to strengthen the agency.
We continue to face the challenge of recalcitrance, people that do not want to simply obey laws and regulations. Enforcement of these laws, application of punishment or sanctions still remains a challenge. And I trust that the promulgation or the passing of the Environmental Protection Act will give more venom to this institution to be able to bite and bite well.
Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Ophelia Mensah Herford, called for improved performance to enhance the agency's achievements.
We should reaffirm our unwavering commitment to environmental protection and sustainable development. Together, let us build a sustainable future, a greener, healthier and more prosperous Ghana, leaving a legacy of environmental stewardship for generations to come.
The 50th anniversary celebration of the EPA is themed 50 Years of Environmental Protection, Achievements, Challenges, and the Future.
In other stories this evening, Communications and Digitalization Minister Ursula Owusu-Ekufo has shot down allegations made by investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri-Awuni about the contract awarded to NextGen Infraco Limited, the company handling the 5G network rollout. Manasseh Azuri-Awuni, in a Facebook post, highlighted that the company was incorporated less than a week before President Akufo-Addo granted executive approval for the deal. He maintained that the timing raises eyebrows considering the significant nature of the contract. But responding to this allegation, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo explained that the company was specifically created for this purpose because there was no existing neutral infrastructure company capable of handling the rollout at that time.
There's an allegation that the company awarded this contract was formed a week before the license was granted to them. Now, this is a special purpose vehicle. Once government took the decision that we would use a neutral infrastructure company to deliver this service, there is no existing neutral infrastructure company at the moment. So it had to be specifically formed for the purpose of delivering this service based on the strategic policy decision of government. If 4G was introduced in this country in 2015 and we still have only 15% 4G penetration and we auction 5G, within the next 10 years, we will still be hovering around 10% penetration. Is that what this government or this country wants? No. We want to accelerate the pace of access to telecommunications to every Ghanaian, everywhere in the country, regardless of where you are. So the best vehicle that the government thought would enable us to provide this service to all Ghanaians within the shortest possible time is to set up a neutral shared infrastructure company. And that was set up following the policy decision taken to auction it. And that is why it is a new company.
Well, meanwhile, the sector minister says the rollout of the 5G service will enhance the lives of Ghanaians by introducing digital services in education, healthcare, digital payment transactions, and reduce the digital divide, as well as promote financial inclusion.
The benefits of 5G technology are numerous. It offers faster speeds, lowered latency, more connections, and better reliability. These improvements will support a range of new applications and services, from enhanced mobile broadband to massive machine-type communications and ultra-reliable low-latency communications. 5G will transform industries, enable new business models, and drive economic growth. 261 operators in 101 countries had launched commercial 5G services as of January this year. In Africa, 16 countries, including South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and Tanzania, have deployed 5G services currently.
You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. We've got Insight next. Now, as we head to our stories on Insights this evening, let's return to our earlier story concerning the 5G network rollout in the country and Communications and Digitalization Minister Ursula Owusu-Ekufo shutting down allegations which were made by investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri-Ewuni about this contract awarded to Next Gen Infraco Limited. Now, Manasseh Ewuni did say in a Facebook post, he highlighted the fact that this company was incorporated less than a week before the president granted executive approval for this deal. Manasseh joins us via Zoom to discuss this issue further and the response of the minister to this information that he put out. Manasseh, good evening to you. I believe you are on and you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Natalie.
Great. It's good to have you. Now, you heard the response of the minister there, the Communications and Digitalization Minister, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, to your Facebook post, which you put out concerning this company. Are you satisfied with her response?
No, I'm not satisfied. And I think she hasn't denied the fact that this company was set up 6 days before the president gave the executive approval. And this ministry actually wrote to the NCA stating the fact that they are not going to auction this 5G network and that this company is being introduced and this company should be or is eventually going to be licensed to provide those services. So it looks like even when the company was chosen, they hadn't even been licensed to provide those services. Right. And the question is, even if we didn't have an existing company to do this, could we have subjected this to an open competitive tendering? Right. That is, the ministry or government would specify what it intends to achieve with the 5G deployment, the timelines, and then allow the private sector, those in the telecom and other sectors, come up with those they want to partner to set up companies to perhaps bid, and then we get the best out of this. Very well. The substance of the issue has been how this company was chosen. And the fact still remains that it was set up 5 or 6 days before the approval, executive approval to go 5G. It's gotten this deal, and there are issues about how much Ghana is going to make and all of that. So these are issues that we should be interrogating to see whether we could not have gotten a better deal if this had been subjected to open competitive tendering. I'm saying this because I know of similar contracts in the past. We know that the Mahama era, they started this Eastern Corridor, the fiber optic cable project. And recently there's a company called Smart Infraco, which bears a name similar to this particular one, managing that project. And I traveled with some Danish journalists to these areas from Ho to Nkwanta to Dambai. And then the assemblies said they still depend on the telcos. But when they are talking, they create the impression that these companies they bring in are going to solve all our problems. And then you go to the ground and the very problems they are supposed to resolve. You go to the Home Municipal Assembly, Jessica, KJB, and Kwanta, you go there and they don't have all these connections. And the question is, if we had subjected these deals to open competitive tendering, I'm sure we could have gotten better service providers instead of always selecting one, asking them to go ahead, and when they fail, they mess everyone up.
Now, Manessa, you say you're not satisfied with her response, and the process, in your view, should have gone through an open competitive tendering procedure. And that this company, you say, was set up about approximately a week before the executive approval by the president. Is there any further information that you've gathered about the company? Say, its management, the persons behind the company. Is there any additional information that you've gathered aside when it was set up?
Yes, I'm just getting very interesting details from the certain sources. The original owners of this company, or even the shareholders and directors, there appears to be some update, which some people are giving me information. I'm yet to do my own checks. But when I first started following this, the information I got, and this is from the registrar of companies. And this company, we are told, and this search was on the 9th of May.
Very well.
Yes. And the company had 2 directors.
Okay.
Yes, 2 directors. The place of business is in Accra. And then the address is there. But the directors is what I want to give you, the details. The directors are one Tenu Awuno,
okay.
and then Olusola Odejumoke Ogundimu, who is a Ghanaian. Some people are raising issues about whether this sounds like a Nigerian name, but what we know here, yes, it's a Ghanaian.
Okay.
And then there are also shareholders, stroke trustees of the company, and they are Integrated Legal Consult Limited, and also the name I mentioned, Olusola Adejumoke Ogundimu. These are the 2 directors, sorry, the 2 shareholders. And the first shareholder, which is a company, the Integrated Legal Consultants Limited, when you look at the ownership or directorship of it, you see the same
names?
The same name as I'm talking about, the Olusola Adejumoke Ogundimu. is also a director of this company. So it appears it all boils down to one person. And someone just forwarded me a recent search that was made, and some other shareholders have been added. But down there, they say the beneficial owner of this company is still this same name, which sounds Nigerian.
But
the details we have here says it's a Ghanaian.
Very well.
So there are issues that we need to interrogate and then get to know exactly who is behind this company, those coming on board, what percentage of the revenue will come to the state, will go to these individuals and the companies. So that at the end of the day, we are all looking for the best for the country. It's not so much about who does the job, but if there is a transparent process and everybody knows that this is how much is coming and this is how much the state is getting, it wouldn't happen like Frontiers at the airport that made close to $100 million US dollars, and the state got only, I think, $7 million from testing in COVID-19, which was also shrouded in secrecy. So my point is the technical aspect is there, but when it comes to how these resources of the states are given out, every Ghanaian should be concerned and ask critical questions.
Certainly. Manasseh Azuri-Awuni, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, I know that you'll certainly continue with further information on this, and we will do so too and engage you subsequently on this story. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Let's now turn to our stories on Insights this evening, as organised labour is insisting that the decision to offload 60% of SSNIT shares in 6 hotels to Rock City Hotels must not be allowed to go through. Labour, after a meeting with the board of SSNIT, say they will not compromise on their position to allow the offloading of the shares of the hotels to Rock City, owned by Agric Minister Dr. Brian Echampong. GHOne TV's Abdul Hanan Adam was at the meeting and has the rest of the story.
The meeting between organised labour and the SSNIT board followed the threat from the unions to demonstrate if the deal is allowed to stand. After listening to the presentation by the SSNIT board, led by the board chair, Elizabeth Ohene, organised labour insists that there are a number of infractions in the deal which must be rectified.
I think we had a very fruitful meeting. The conclusion was clear that they are listening. And this came from the board chair, that please, we are still listening. That question you asked was asked to them. And the answer was, we are still listening. So if indeed they are listening, we have offered our advice. And we are politely saying, please stop this deal. Convene a stakeholder meeting. Let's look at this investment. Let us look at the other issues that have come into the public domain on SSNIT. And together, we work to redeem the image of SSNIT and work towards making sure SSNIT is sustainable, and that everybody who contributes to SSNIT will have no doubt in their mind that when they retire, SSNIT will be able to pay their pension. I don't think you can get it better than that.
Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, TUC, Dr. Ba, explained that they are ready to engage the government to reform SSNIT.
We as stakeholders should come together, including the employers, including government, including SSNIT board, and all other stakeholders, come together and decide the way forward. Take a decision on whether SSNIT should. Even that is only one of the issues that we want to discuss. In fact, we have some proposals for medium to long-term reform of SSNIT. We think that workers of this country own SSNIT. Therefore, they must have majority representation on SSNIT board. So all those things are issues we want to propose in that stakeholder meeting. And you may be concluding that they left the room and you thought they were not happy. We think that they have taken our advice in good faith, and we are expecting that we get a positive response from them.
However, the labour unions are also demanding a total restructuring of the SSNIT board, including the appointment of director generals and the day-to-day management of pension funds.
What we are saying is that the At 766 give control to workers when it comes to their second tier and they are performing. The same thing should happen to tier 1. we will take control. This is our money, and we would take control. They are not convinced at all, and we're going to ask for a total restructure of SSNIT, because this is not how you should manage workers' money. And it's because the money this is not government money, this is workers' money. And one would say, why should government be appointing even a chair to the SSNIT board? It's not government money, it's workers' money. It's workers' that must appoint who is supposed to steer our affairs for us. So we're going to look at that. We're not going to allow it.
However, President Akufo-Addo has directed the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations to engage in further discussions with the labour leaders to find a mutual resolution on the matter. Today's engagement marks the beginning of a series of meetings with various proponents against the sale of the 4 hotels. But Labour remains resolute in their quest to see the cancellation of this deal. Reporting for GHOne News, Abdelhanan Adam, TUC, Accra.
Well, meanwhile, Labour Minister Ignatius Baffour-Ewuah, who met the leadership of organised labour a while ago, says government is not sleeping on the matter.
I want to use your medium to inform the nation that we are not sleeping on the issue. We want to delve into the issues, but we want to be as objective as possible. That's why we want to listen to everybody that matters in this case before we can also make our position on it. I don't need to state my position on only what Labour has said. I will want to listen to all other stakeholders, including Labour. Not far from there, if you care to know, I can mention to you, I have already met with management of SSNIT. I have met with the board of MPRA, and I'm still consulting. Labour is the 3rd stakeholder I have met. So why are you rushing? Just allow me to have a full disclosure of the issues pertaining to the topical issues around now.
And meanwhile, MP for North Tong, Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, has made an urgent call on President Akufo-Addo to immediately sanction Minister for Agriculture Brian Echampong for his involvement in the sale of 60% of SSNIT's stake in 6 hotels to Rock City Hotel. He further noted the president must assent to the private members' bill, barring public officials from purchasing government assets if it comes to his table.
I expect more than a comment from the president. I expect action. I expect the president to instruct all these appointees, those selling and the one buying, to back off, to take their hands off our hotels. And I expect him to sanction his Minister for Agri for violating the Constitution, for actually even bringing the president's office to disrepute. He's a president who told us that nobody should use public office, his appointment, to do business. The Honorable Brachampo didn't hear it. I heard it far sitting at the NDC headquarters. I heard it. The Honorable Brachampo and the MPP folks who were at the meeting when the president said he advised his people, he didn't hear or he's forgotten. So I expect action, and I expect the president to also commit that when we are done with our private members' bill, he will assent to it. He will not behave like he has been behaving with other private members' bills. This one is imperative, it's urgent, because of how the looting brigade is behaving.
Well, more on this developing story in subsequent bulletins. That wraps up Insights for tonight.
Insight was brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal for strong teeth and gums and Pepsodent Charcoal for natural whiter teeth.
You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Now, for some months now, I have been highlighting the poor maintenance culture in Ghana. And in this feature, I chronicle the failures of agencies, of the government and Ghanaians in the maintenance of key installations in a documentary titled Unkept. Take a look.
The African is ready to fight his own battle and show that, after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
In Ghana, it is widely recognized that there is a significant issue with maintaining public facilities. Many traffic lights across the country aren't functioning. Some street lights have been out for months. The excitement of inaugurating new facilities is often short-lived, and maintaining them proves to be a challenge for those in charge. The lack of maintenance culture is costing Ghana significant amounts of money that could be used for development projects. One glaring example is the Independence Square, a major landmark in Accra. Established in 1961 by Ghana's first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, it symbolizes the nation's victory and independence. As the first African country to gain independence, Ghana's Black Star Square served as an inspiration for other countries on the African continent seeking independence from European colonial rule. To put this in perspective, the Independence Square is to Ghana what the Arc de Triomphe is to France or the Statue of Liberty is to the United States of America. The difference, however, maintenance. Fast forward, 63 years after its establishment, the once enviable edifice leaves much to be desired. The fence has collapsed, showing years of neglect. It's clear that timely maintenance was not a priority for those responsible. A 73-year-old educator recalls the nostalgic memories of visiting the square as a child. She fondly remembers the Soul to Soul Festival held there on March 6, 1971, which brought top musicians from the United States to Ghana for a 15-hour celebration. The Black Star Square, with its 30,000 seat capacity and iconic design, has stood as a symbol of national pride. But for Professor Vladimir Enchidanso, who remembers its glory days, the current state is disappointing.
When we say Ghana was the torch bearer of Africa's independence, then that torch was symbolized in the Independence Arc at the Black Star Square. It was a place you felt the soul of Ghana was. Now the surroundings are such that it's bushy, and beyond it we hear people defecate towards the beach. It's an eyesore. Honestly speaking, when we were young, we really cherished this place. You were passing through the place and you could feel Ghana. You feel some kind of belongingness. Today, the place is so ordinary. It's been renamed Independence Square. How do we feel our independence when we are passing through this place?
Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi Ajiman, attributes the poor state of the Black Star Square to the many stakeholders involved in the maintenance and management process.
These facilities don't necessarily fall under the Ghana Tourism Authority's ambit. I mean, there are several state institutions that also have interest. It's not entirely correct to say that these facilities have been left. There are processes that you have to go through, and there are rules and regulations that you have to follow. So clearly, I mean, some of these things will take time. You have to advertise, you will have to, even if you're going to go through some level of restrictive tendering, there are processes that you have to follow. So I mean, just like you, we've been worried.
He stresses that the Independence Square will see a facelift. So that's my report there on the poor state of the maintenance culture in Ghana. And this really should be a concern of every single Ghanaian. We've been joined via Zoom by Samson Opare Ajiman. He's the president of the International Facility Managers Association of Ghana, joining us for a conversation on this. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining this evening. It's disheartening, really, I believe, to any Ghanaian to see such public facilities in this poor state. Why are we here as a country and as a people?
Thank you very much, and greetings to our viewers and those listening to us online. It's a shame, you know, and this has become an albatross, but it shouldn't have been. We have come this far because, my sister, we have not been intentional about managing our facilities in Ghana. We have not been intentional about training people. We have not been intentional about educating, personnel to handle our, especially public infrastructure. That is why we have come this far. I'm speaking to you as the International Facilities Management Chapter of Ghana president, and we started not quite long. About 10 years ago, this association started in Ghana. You can imagine. Ghana had independence since when? More than 60 years ago. We had Institute of Architects, we have Institute of Surveyors. There's no institution that handles our maintenance. This is why we have come this far. And we still have in our languages that we have bad maintenance culture. That needs to be changed.
You say there's no specific institution that handles maintenance in the country. In that case, what's the way forward? How do we ensure that we pick up from here and improve the maintenance culture?
Thank you very much. So, I mean, we in the facilities management fraternity have started something. About 5 years ago, we started, visiting our technical universities, okay, encouraging them to begin to have education courses in facilities management, which also incorporate maintenance operations. Maintenance operations is just about 20% of, the cost of facilities management. We must start educating our people in facilities management. It is only when you educate your people, it is only when you prioritize maintenance culture, it is only when you have students passing out as trained people in the area of maintenance that we can change the narrative of what bad maintenance culture. But if you don't have men, women trained to handle maintenance operation and create the culture of maintenance, my sister, will be where we are. But we have started, we are encouraging them, and thank God, if you go to KNUST today, they've started running course in facilities management at the master's level. We are saying that it must come down to certificate and first degree level. If we are intentional, if government supports this move that we have started, I can tell you that in 10 years' time, the narrative of bad maintenance culture will be eliminated in Ghana.
Samson Opare Ajiman, thank you so much for joining us this evening and sharing your thoughts as the president of the International Facility Managers Association of Ghana on following that special feature, Unkept, and the poor state of maintenance culture in the country. GHOne News will continue to highlight such issues and will bring you more in subsequent bulletins. You're watching News Tonight. Do stay. You're welcome back to News Tonight here on GHOne TV. We've got business news next. In business tonight, data released by the Ghana Statistical Service on trade flow has shown a significant increase in exports in 2023 as compared to 2022. The total export of commodities in 2023 stood at 186 billion Ghana cedis as against 144 billion cedis obtained in 2022. However, cocoa, a major export earner in the first quarter of 2024, has suffered a huge decline of 33% on year-on-year basis from 2021 to 2023. Now, this, according to the GSS, stems from the current cocoa swollen shoot virus disease, amongst other things. Here is government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina Enim addressing the media earlier today.
What is of importance to us is the performance of cocoa in the first quarters of the last 4 years. In the first quarters of the last 4 years, we have consistently seen that we get the largest return from cocoa in the first quarter of every year. In 2021, the highest was in the first quarter. In 2022, the highest was in the first quarter. In 2023, the highest was in the first quarter, averaging about 895 million US dollars for these quarters in the last 3 years. Then suddenly we see a sharp decline to about 585 million US dollars in the first quarter of 2023. A significant decline from about 890 million US dollars to about 580 million US dollars in the first quarter of 2023. A situation that the agency is aware of and have found reasons that led to that, and our expectation is that we minimize the vulnerabilities associated with whatever led to it so that going forward we can sustain the returns from cocoa.
In some more business news, the majority in Parliament has accused its minority counterpart of hypocrisy. This follows rejection of the $350 million tax waiver request for some 42 companies under the One District, One Factory initiative. The minority, through its leader, Dr. KCL Atto-Forson, on the floor of Parliament during the recent emergency sitting, questioned the basis for such waivers when the government is in dire need of funds as a result of the economic crisis. But addressing the media in Parliament, Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin questioned the basis for such exemptions granted under the Mahama administration, running into billions of dollars to MPS and Jata Cement, some of which, according to him, were without parliamentary approval.
The tax incentives were not merely considered for the sake of being granted, but that such exemptions were necessary. This is Dr. Forson, as he then was. Dr. Forson, Deputy Finance Minister, as he then was. If the incentives were not granted, it will result in those investments relocating to other countries. So Dr. Forson told us that if Ghana did not approve the $882 million to MPS, MPS will relocate to Ivory Coast or some other country. He further stressed that tax exemption should be evaluated not only on revenue decisions, but on their economic impact. What has changed? I'm not an economist. His argument then was that we should not only look at the revenue, we should look at economic impact. Gentlemen and ladies of the press, you have heard him on the floor of the House. Why has he conveniently chosen to stay away from his own argument? Which argument is to the effect that when you grant tax waiver, it helps the economy.
That's all the business news we've got for you this evening. Do stay with us on News Tonight. You're watching News Tonight this evening here on GHOne TV. Let's carry on with our stories and further probe into the issue of the minority leader in Parliament, Dr. KCL Atto-Forson, who has, through his lawyers, petitioned the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Tokonu, requesting a live broadcast of proceedings in the ongoing ambulance trial. Now, according to him, the former Deputy Finance Minister, this request is in the interest of transparency and accountability in order to advance the course of justice for all parties involved in this trial. Now, joining us is Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tua Yeboah to further discuss this issue and reactions to this development. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, what do you make of this proposition from him regarding it needing to be made public to ensure transparency in this case? Are you in full support of this? Carry on, please. I'm asking if you're in support of his request.
Yes. We have no objection to the request because we believe in transparency, we believe in accountability, we believe in fairness and openness. And so if the first accused person desires that this matter be telecast live on TV and the CJ is minded to grant same, we have no objection to it. Because the Attorney General has on many occasions intimated that matters of public interest may, if possible, be telecast live for people to also know and make first-hand assessment of the proceedings. And this will help in curing any misreporting or mysterious reporting. So we have no objection to it. But we are also even saying that if you're going to have this one broadcast live, we may even add by saying that we have day-to-day hearing, so we can expedite this matter as soon as possible.
Kindly confirm what you said towards the tail end. You're saying that if this is going to be broadcast live, kindly confirm what you said towards the tail end, please.
Hello?
Yes, you're saying that you have no objection to this being broadcast live, yes?
Yes, we have no objection to it, yes.
And you feel like it will, in fact, help with ensuring transparency in this case?
Yes, that is the case, but it's subject to the decision of the Chief Justice, because we believe in transparency. We believe in accountability. In any event, this particular matter is heard in the public space, because in the courtroom, everybody has access to say. It's not heard in camera. So if they think it's to escalate it for all manner of people to view it live on television, we have no problem with it.
Very well. Thank you for the clarification there. Alfred Yeboah, Deputy Attorney General, joining us there, saying they have no objection to this proposition being put forward. You're watching News Tonight. Let's turn to sports news this evening. In sports tonight, Ghana Premier League football beckons for Vision Football Club as they lead Zone 3 of the Access Bank Division 1 League by 3 points over their closest rivals, Atram de Visser. The club, formed in 1999, has risen through the ranks of lower division football in Ghana and has been in the Division 1 since the 2016 season. Coached by one of the youngest coaches in Ghana football, Hamza Obeng, Vision FC will need to secure at least 4 points to gain promotion to the Ghana Premier League.
For more than 2 decades, Vision FC has been one of the well-branded lower division football clubs in the country for years. Formed in 1999 by the club president Michael Osekre, Vision FC is on the verge of securing a Ghana Premier League spot, leading Zone 3 of the Division League by 3 points with 2 rounds of games to end the season. Coached by one of the youngest coaches in Ghana, Hamza Obeng, who joined the club in the middle of last season. The former Heart of Folk deputy coach has guided the team to the top of the table and are close to qualifying for the Premier League after being domiciled in Division 1 League since the 2015-2016 season. Needing 4 points out of the remaining 2 games of the season, Coach Hamza Obeng, speaking to GHOne TV Sports at their training grounds, revealed what Ghana Premier League qualification will mean to him and Vision FC.
First of all, it has been a very difficult season for us, and then I think the guys I'm working with, they are tactically disciplined. All what they have been done at training, hopefully they are able to implement it in the game, and have been helping us from day one to now. So we are just pushing. We are not done yet. The motive, we have a motive of which we have to achieve. So we are still on course. Well, it will be very special as well. I think it has put me to a certain stage of which I wasn't expecting near. But looking at the work that we did and the guys that we are working, that is the players, I think fantastic. They've done fantastic job, and we are hoping all what we started from day one, we will achieve a good result.
That's all the sports news this evening, and that's also how we draw the curtains on News Tonight this evening. You can get lots more news on our website, starfm.com.gh, both local and international stories. Thank you so much for watching News Tonight this evening. It was produced by Musa Lansa. I'm Natalie Fort. Have a wonderful evening.